I'm Dr. Kanwal Khalid. In one of my previous programs, I was talking about the paintings that were executed completely in Renaissance style, which is a European style of execution, and they were painted at the Lahore Fort. And we discussed one paintings that was of a pope because all the attributes that we see in the painting are of a typical Vatican pope. Today, I am going to talk about another painting which was parallel to that, and that is the painting of a young man who is draped in a beautiful reddish pink dress, and he is holding a book in his hand, an open book in his hand, and the execution of the hands and the figure and the body, it's all done in a very realistic European style paintings. And if you look at it closely, the right hand is so finely painted with long fingers and beautifully rendered shading that was being done there. Now there is a sea green scarf on the top of his head, and it goes around his neck as well. The background has no ornamentation, it's just dull brownish color that we see there. When I tried to locate on the attributes of this painting, there has been references that most probably this is the painting of Saint John the Evangelist, because he's the one who has been painted in this kind of robe and in this pinkish red color. Interestingly, in Christian settings, Saint John is usually not the only one who is been painted, but we come across all four evangelists like Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But here, the only evangelist that has been painted is Saint John. Priest Jerome Xavier, who was of the Jesuit committee, he came from Portuguese and he arrived in Lahore on 5th May 1595. In his writings, he gave a reference of a painting of a saint sitting with a book, open book in his hand, and he referred it to the Agra fort. Uh, there is no such painting available in the Agra fort, but that type or that style of painting can be seen in Lahore Fort that I shared with you right now. It means that the Agra painting is gone, but that prototype was used at Lahore Fort. In between these two panels, there is a plain panel, and interestingly, in some references, we come across this write up that says, here there was a painting of a Virgin Mary. In fact, William Finch is the writer. He was a British merchant who traveled to India. He mentions that between these two panels, there was this painting of Virgin Mary, which was being removed at some later stage. But right now, we have a plain space there, so there is no painting there. So that's it. On over the entrance door of this particular monument of Sadara, there are two figures who are kneeling. One is wearing a purplish dress and it is holding a plate with some offerings in it, and the other one is wearing a greenish tunic, and the whole attitude and the posture and the drapery and the sleeves and everything is done very much in a Renaissance style. And but there's the panel in between is again plain. And again, some references tell us that there is quite a possibility that here in this panel, Jesus Christ was being painted, and these two figures are kneeling in front of Jesus Christ. Many of the figures are wearing purplish dress because purple was the color that was associated with royalty due to its, uh, because this was an extremely expensive dye. So we see this color used on these paintings again and again. Um, uh, there are beautiful details. You can see the curly hair falling on their shoulders and the feet. And near the feet, there are some shrubs and there are some plants being painted there. And those plants are very much in the manner of uh, of Leonardo da Vinci. So we see those plants in this particular setting that you see here. But the middle panel, that where we thought there was the figure of Jesus Christ, but that figure has been removed and replaced with a lattice, which obviously does not belong to this particular setting. It was inserted at some other time later, but this is that middle figure is gone completely. On at the south wall, again we see two figures, and if you look at it closely, one has again a purplish dress and it is holding a plate in his hand. And the plate is the golden color is used on in this painting, on the dress and on the plate, and it is so vibrant that it seems that the gold pigment has been added to it. Um, Beautiful dress it is wearing, and a white dress with long steel sleeved purplish undergarments. On the gold tray, there are several round objects, which are probably some kind of fruits there. The figure has long and curly hair that are falling on the shoulder. Due to these beautiful hair, initially it was identified that probably this is the figure of Saint Lucy. But when I cleaned this painting and I studied it in a detailed manner, so you could see a light beard on his face. Uh, that is why we can say that this is not a female figure, it's a male saint, but unfortunately, we have no idea who this person is. The influence of High Renaissance is again one can see here, and along with that panel, there is another figure, and it is a man, an old man, and he is holding a staff in his hand. In fact, he's resting on that staff. Now, fortunately, its face has been spared, and one can see long white beard. If you look at the beard, it has a detail of a miniature painter, miniaturist, and beautifully drawn and executed in an extremely fine, sensitive, delicate manner. And there is he's wearing a dark red cloak or as a shawl over a white garment, and he stands in an open landscape, and one can see the clouds behind. And in some paintings, we can see the birds behind, which are almost non existent now. By the way, these are the photographs that I took in 2007 8. The paintings are much more deteriorated now, but this is the detail I have been able to capture during my research. Now, this face is very well preserved, and if you look at it, the attributes that you see here, probably this is painting is the representation of Anthony the Abbot, because this is how Anthony the Abbot has been represented at different in different frescoes and in different paintings. So that is why most probably this is Anthony the Abbot. Now, interestingly, between these two frescoes, there is another panel, and on this panel, one can see a red cross, very dimly made, and more dimly, if you look at it real closely, you can see a profile of a young man, a bearded young man. And according to the curators of Lahore Fort, this is the face of young Shah Jahan. And the straight nose and the beard has been painted in an extremely realistic manner, very much unlike to the miniature painting. And if we compare it with other portraits of Shah Jahan, it looks like the same boy, but when he was 20 or 22 years old, and that was it because and he is shown as a prince, not as a king, because his headgear has no decorations at all. At that time, Shah Jahan was in Lahore, and there is quite a possibility that he was painted during that time period. About the time period, this is most probably done during Jahangir's period, and that is somewhere between 1611 or 1612, or somewhere between 1610 to 1615. These paintings were executed. Interestingly, this face of a young man is another evidence of painting style that is not related to miniature painting, but it is more leaning towards the European style of painting. To find Mughal prints among the Christian saints is not something unusual. There are references of Agra Fort and Delhi Fort where the princes have been painted along with the Christian saints and different. And even along with the Virgin Mary. So, this representation is nothing unusual. After the identification of these figures, a huge debate was initiated that who painted them, because this is the style of painting that we do not see in any other Mughal building so far. So, who painted those beautiful fresco paintings? Were they the Europeans who were invited by the Mughal kings to come and have their walls painted, or were they the local artists who have shown their skill as the realistic painters, just like the painters of high Renaissance? I'll talk about that in my next program.